Hello everyone, this is part 16 of What If Naruto Had Some Help, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. The next morning everyone was packing up camp and Sasuke walked over to Naruto and said, "So you and Ino, huh? How did that happen?" Naruto said, "It's a very troublesome story that I will let Ino tell you about it if you want to know," as he stretched his arm out with his hand closed to the right and a rose whip appeared in his hand and he slashed a tree with it and frowned and said, "It's still off." Everyone was wide-eyed seeing this and Tenten said, "No wonder you were wanting information on a whip, you can do Mokuton." Naruto said, "No, it's something else," as he threw the whip on the ground and stepped on it and the roses merged with the ground. Sasuke asked, "What's still off?" Naruto said, "My depth perception. I am having to adjust to see with only one eye. At first everything was way to the right but now I am only off by a couple of inches but it's getting better." Kakashi rubbed his chin and said, "I remember having to do the same thing. I was put on medical leave for a month to adjust." Sakura asked, "What is wrong with everyone?" Naruto ked those men yesterday. H is a mare. Everyone but Amy ground at this and Sasuke said, "Would anyone mind if I just ked her to end the insanity?" Tenten said, "I'll help." And Lee said, "Tenten, that is most unyouthful. The lovely Sakura-chan is not insane." Tenten put her hand in her palm and said, "Kami, why oh why me? I swear, it can't get worse." Naruto said, "Trust me, it can. So is everyone ready to go?" Tazuna said, "Are all ninja crazy like you? I mean I thought ninja was supposed to be silent yet we have two here who scream about the flames of youth and wear spandex, a boy who is a one-man army who talks about everything and at the same time nothing, a lazy L addict, a girl who oh from weapons, a blind kid, a girl who screams about demons, and a girl who can't take a hint the other boy is gay." Tenten who blushed said, "I don't on from weapons," as she thought, "but they do turn me on." Neji said, "I am a Hyuga and I am not blind, this is my bloodline. It allows me to see everything around me and see through things for miles." Tazuna said, "Alright, I take it back, you're not blind, you just come from a family of peeping toms." Guy had to grab Neji's shirt to stop him as Naruto said, "You know, that could explain why Hinata always fainted around me. I never thought of it before, Shush is a pervert." Everyone face-faltered at this and Tazuna said, "Kami help me." Amy thought, why do they tolerate the demon and not just K him? I don't understand. Naruto said, "I think it might be better if I go on ahead. If Zabuza is ahead he might think I am going to attack him and that will make my mission harder. Good luck all you and take care Tazuna," as he jumped into the trees and headed into the woods before anyone could say anything. Kakashi frowned and thought, H is right but I don't have to like it. About an hour later the group came upon a red-headed woman and Kakashi said, "Kushina." The woman said, "You knew my mother, sir." Kakashi eye went wide and thought, Naruto. "I see," and said, "I believe so. Could you please tell me your name miss and what you are doing here? I'm Hatake Kakashi." Guy thought, where have I seen her before and what is Kakashi up to? The woman said, "My name is Miko, Kakashi-kun. I believe I heard of you from Naruto-kun when he comes by and sees Ino-san." Sakura said, "You know Ino and Naruto, Miko." Miko said, "Yes miss. I work for Mr. Yamanaka. In fact that's what I am doing all the way out here away from Konoha. I am on my way to Wave to gather some rare flowers that Mr. Yamanaka is planning to breed and sell. H is hoping to be able to increase sell with some new flora and fauna." Neji narrowed his eyes and activated his bloodline and Miko heard him say its name and she looked at him and said, "Excuse me Hyuga but please do not look through my cloths." Neji sputtered and said, "I was not Muz. I had thought you might be someone else under a henge. I can see you're not him though." Miko became red and said, "Of course I am not a man. I have always been a woman you pervert. I feel dirty now," as she rubbed her arms across each other covering her chest. Guy said, "I am sorry Miss Miko for my student's unyouthfulness. I will have words with him later." If it makes you feel any better, would you like to join our group? It's not safe for a woman to travel alone, and we are also on our way to Wave. Miko said, I don't know. Guy said, oh, forgive me for not introducing myself. I am the beautiful green beast of Konoha Mato Guy. Miko said, well, Guy-san, I appreciate your concerns, but would I not put your group in danger? After all, I am not your client and I travel around alone most of my time anyways. I wouldn't want to be a bother. Kakashi said, you're no bother, Miss Miko. In fact, I would feel better if you did accompany us, at least until we get to Wave. Miko said, very well. I will accept. As Miko joined the group, she was walking in the middle and Tazuna sighed and said, I wish the kid was still here, at least he could fight. Miko frowned and before anyone could blink she held a kunai at Tazuna and said, I may not look it, sir, but I am not helpless. As she pulled the kunai away and slipped it back in the hem of her dress on the inside. Everyone was stunned and Tenten asked, are you a ninja, Miko? Miko said, Mr. Yamanaka has taught me a few self-defense lessons along with a few friends I have over the years. Tazuna, who was sweating, thought, I am going to S. As they traveled, Miko questioned Tazuna about Wave and heard about Gato, and as they reached the boat and began to travel across the water, Sakura was asking Miko questions about flowers along with Amy. Guy looked at Kakashi and thought, what is up with you, Kakashi? Ever since we first met, Miko, you have been relaxed a little. As the group saw the bridge, Miko whistled slowly and said, that is one big bridge. Tazuna said, yes it is. It is going to save my country from Gato. Miko frowned and said, excuse me for asking this, Tazuna-san, but if Gato is such a threat, why didn't you ask for an assassination instead of a bodyguard? I mean, if he was wouldn't that be just as easy as trying to defend your friends and family? Tazuna sighed and said, if it was just Gato then maybe, but he has his army of mercenaries who do his bidding. It's horrible what they have done to my country. Women disappear all the time, never to be seen again, or returning in nothing but torn rags if they're lucky, children begging for food to eat, anyone who stands up to them or Gato is publicly executed. Even if we did Gato, we would still have all his men to deal with. Miko frowned and looked at Kakashi and said, it's a shame someone can't replace Gato and get rid of those men for you. Kakashi looked up from his book and narrowed his eye a little, locking eyes with Miko, and said, it would be extremely dangerous, Miko-chan. First, someone who have to get rid of Gato without alerting anyone, which would be difficult, and then would have to be able to fool all those who work for him and then to decide what to do to his men to remove them. Miko frowned and said, I guess I agree. So Hyuga, who did you think I was earlier in a henge? Neji said, I thought you might have been Uzumaki. Miko said, Naruto-kun, why would you think I was him? Isn't he in Konoha? Amy said, no, the demon is going to be in Wave. Miko frowned and asked, foolishness, tell me, Amy, why do you call Naruto-kun a demon? Guy said, Miko-san, Miko locked eyes with him and said, stay out of this. I am aware of the law and I am one of the people who are exempt from that law. I wish to know why this young girl believes such foolishness. Guy frowned and Sakura asked, what law, what are you all talking about? Miko smiled and said, Sasuke-kun. Do I have your permission to tell the truth about your brothers, both blood and adopted? The real truth about the events that lead to the death of Naruto-kun's family and your own, making everyone look between her and Sasuke. Sasuke narrowed his eyes and asked, do you know the entire truth? Miko said, of course I do. You may not remember me very well since I have had a makeover since then, but the day you graduated the academy I jumped you at lunch and tied you up. Sasuke's eyes got wide and said, I see, I remember, you know. You can go ahead. Miko smirked and Sakura screeched, you attacked Sasuke-kun. Miko rubbed her ears and said, be quiet if you want answer, Sakura. Sakura frowned and Miko said, it all starts back before Konoha was founded. There were two nomadic clans that were at war with each other. Sakura said, the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan. We learned that they decided they were tired of fighting and founded Konoha. Miko said, partially correct, Sakura. You see, they both wanted peace, but they could not decide who would be the leader of the new village. The two choices were Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Amy asked, why are you telling us this history that we can read anytime we want, and what does this have to do with the demon? Miko smirked and said, because the truth about how they decided the leader was erased from the history books. In fact, I know of only one record that still exists of what happened. It is in the Uchiha clan compound. Sasuke asked, how do you know that, Miko? Miko said, I will explain later in private, Sasuke-kun, please allow me to continue. Sasuke frowned and nods, and Miko said, anyways, the way the leader was selected was a fight. It was at the Valley of the End where the fight was held. Because of the long history of fighting between Madara and Hashirama, they knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, and Madara wanted to be the leader, so somehow he was able to create a summoning with the aid of his Sharingan that he was sure would give him the upper hand. Tenten asked, but what could have given him the upper hand? Miko said, Kyuubi, making everyone but Sasuke and Kakashi eyes wide. Amy said, so the Uchiha clan summoned Kyuubi. Miko snorts and said, no, only Madara. After all, Madara was a prideful man, and if his entire clan could summon the Kyuubi, then someone could challenge him for leadership of the clan, so he made it where only he could summon it, but any member of his clan could control it if he was not there. Now Madara and Hashirama fought, and it was discovered that day that the Senju clan could neutralize the power of demons. Madara was defeated and Hashirama became the Shodaime. Things went okay with the village being founded after that, and both clans settled down until Hashirama decided to name the Nadaime. Madara became enraged after he learned it was Tobirama. He tried to unite the Uchiha clan to start a civil war, but they turned their back on him, and so he decided to leave. When he did, Hashirama chased after him and they fought again at the Valley of the End, and it was believed that both SD in that battle. Lee asked, what do you mean believed? Sasuke said, Madara Uchiha is still alive. The Hokage and several members of the council knew he was still alive because he had once again summoned Kyuubi and sent it to attack Konoha, making everyone but Kakashi wide-eyed again. Kakashi said, at the time of the Kyuubi attack, Konoha did not know about Madara still being alive. We all assumed it had just awoke from wherever it had been and came back to Konoha. It wasn't until a year before the Uchiha they actually got proof it was Madara. Amy asked, wait, if what you said earlier was true, then how come the Uchiha clan couldn't control Kyuubi? Miko said, I said they could control it as long as Madara wasn't there. Since Madara was the one who summoned it again, he had to have been there, so the Uchiha clan couldn't stop it. Sakura said, but the Yondaime k'd it, so what does that have to do with Naruto? Amy said, because he didn't k it, he made it human. Miko, Guy, Tenten, Kakashi, and Sasuke all snorted at that, and Miko said, wrong, at least partially. Tenten, would you explain sealing since you use it every day? When I was in your store recently, you told me you knew the difference between a kunai and a scroll, remember? Tenten thought a moment and her eyes got wide and said, oh yes, I remember. Let me demonstrate this so you all can understand. As she pulled out a scroll and unsealed a kunai and said, as you can see, this kunai is dangerous. This scroll isn't. Now if I seal this kunai into the scroll here, the scroll does not become a kunai. Everyone agree with me on that? As she looked around. Sakura said, yeah, that's simple, but what does this have to do with Naruto and Kyuubi? Miko said, Naruto is what is known as a Jinchuriki. The power of human sacrifice. The Yondaime, Naruto's father, could not k Kyuubi, so he summoned the Shinigami to seal the Kyuubi into Naruto when he was but a few hours old, making Sakura and Lee gasp. Amy said, thus turning him into the Kyuubi. Miko slapped her head and asked, how? Explain your belief to me, Amy. I mean, if the kunai was Kyuubi and Naruto is the scroll, how does sealing the kunai in the scroll make the scroll the kunai? Sakura blinked and said, it doesn't. It can't, can it? Kakashi said, no Sakura. It doesn't. Amy said, you're lying, my mother told me H is a demon. Miko sighed and said, Amy, let me ask you something, what is a demon? Tell me what makes something a demon to you or your mother, since she was the one who told you about this. Amy said, gladly, a demon ks without mercy or reason. It takes pleasure out of causing pain and suffering, and it is extremely dangerous. Miko said, is that all? Amy nods and said, I prove my point, the Kyuubi did that when it attacked Konoha. Miko said, I agree. Making everyone look at her as she continued and said, the Kyuubi that attacked before it was stopped was a demon, but tell me, does Naruto k without mercy or reason? Amy said, yes, you should have seen what he did to those men before we met you. Miko said, what men? Amy said, the two men who attacked Tazuna and Naruto. Miko said, okay, I assume these men were paid to k Tazuna, correct? Amy nods and Miko asked, if someone were to attack this group right now to K Tazuna, would you defend yourself and Tazuna? After all, self-defense and protecting the client is what you're here for right now, right? Amy frowned and said, yes, but you should have seen what he did to them, he tore them apart. Miko looked at Tazuna and asked, how did he K them, Tazuna? Tazuna frowned and said, he blew them up and then he threw up. Miko asked, has anyone here ever K'd someone by using an exploding tag? Kakashi, Tenten and Guy all raised their hands and Miko said, so you're saying, Amy, that these three here are demons for doing the same thing Naruto did? Amy said, that's not what I said, you're twisting my words. Miko said, alright, you said a demon takes pleasure out of pain and misery. If Naruto took pleasure from it, why did he throw up then? To me it sounds like he threw up because King is not easy for him. Amy frowned and said, fine, maybe not those two, but I know H is K'd for pleasure. Sasuke asked, who? I checked, not counting those two, the only people Naruto has ever K'd was my brother Itachi and Kisame, who both were sent to capture and K him by Uchiha Madara. Amy was quiet for a few moments and said, I don't know, but I heard he has. So there. Miko said, rumors and gossip, do you believe all the rumors and gossip you hear, Amy? Amy said, of course not. Most of it's exaggerated anyways. Miko asked, then why do you believe it when you yourself admit most of it is lies? Amy frowned and said, why do you care? H is a demon. Sakura asked, but why, Amy? I mean, I didn't know about any of this before now, and I keep hearing Miko ask you why, and even I have to admit, to me it sounds like you're wrong. I mean, if Naruto was a demon, then why did he let me hit him all those times in the academy and called him names? Sasuke said, I don't believe it, Sakura is seeing the light. Miko asked, did you tell a joke? Sasuke, HN, and Miko shook her head and said, explain it please, Amy. If you can prove Naruto is a demon, I will tell everyone I know H is a demon. Prove it to me. I will give you until we get to Wave to give me one thing that shows H is a demon. Amy said, his whiskers. Miko said, so you're saying because he has whiskers that H is a demon? How do you know they're not a bloodline from his mother's side? I mean, Kiba has clawed hands, fangs, pointed ears, and stead eyes as part of his bloodline, and they look more demonic than whiskers do. If that's all the proof you got, then that's weak. Amy looked deep in thought and said, because my mother said he was. Miko asked, and how does she know? Is she a seal master? If Naruto a demon, then why is it with the 378 assassination attempts on his life did he never kill a single person? Why is it he has been sent to the hospital over 2,000 times in his life from attacks from villages, and H has never even lifted a finger to attack them, only to try and run away, or if they cornered him in an ally to curl up in a ball and hope someone comes save him? Why is it the Hokage and a portion of the Anbu believe that he is not a demon and have rescued him and actually guarded him when he was younger? If he was a demon, don't you think he could have defended himself? If H is a demon, then why is it he can only visit 3 stores in the village without being overpriced? I mean, a loaf of regular bread cost you what? $1 at the most, he has to pay $10. If H is a demon, why is it he has gone to bed 5 out of 7 days a week hungry? I mean, if he was the QB, why didn't he just K the shop owners who refuse him service and take what he wants? Amy frowned and Sasuke said, correction, now I have a reason to hate Konoha. Miko said, be quiet you. If Naruto doesn't hate the people of Konoha for what they done to him, you can't hate them either. Sakura, who had covered her mouth, asked, is that true? Miko said, let me ask you something, Sakura. I heard Naruto and Ino talk, so I want to ask you this. Do you remember the day you first met Ino? Sakura said, of course I do. Miko asked, and do you as well, Amy? I mean, you were one of the girls that was picking on Sakura that day. Amy frowned and looked away, and Miko asked, who saved you from Amy here and the other girls? Sakura said, Ino did. Miko smirked and said, then why is it that Naruto ran over grabbing a handful of sand, throwing it into Amy and the other girls' hair, screaming bugs, making them run away, that you claim it was Ino? Sakura blinked and blinked again as she remembered back and said, I had completely forgot that. Amy actually tripped and sprained her ankle that day. Ino and I laughed about it later. Amy growled and said, shut it, Sakura. Miko said, do you remember what happened after that? Naruto left because Ino, who had ran and got your mom, came back and he returned later that day. You remember? Sakura said, I remember now. My mom told us he was bad and Naruto said she was wrong and Ino called him a bad person and slapped him. Miko said, it's funny, for over 6 years you and Ino used the insults Naruto gave you that day after you both made it where all the kids called him a bad person. Tazuna said, I know this is not my place to ask but exactly what happens with the demon inside of Naruto. Miko sighed and Kakashi said, as Naruto ages the seal his father designed is made where Naruto sucks the chakra from Kyuubi making it his own so that way when Naruto SS the Kyuubi will also S powerless so it can never return. Miko said, if only it was that easy. Tazuna asked, what do you mean? Miko said, I mean from what I see Jinchuriki don't live easy lives. They are hated and abused for protecting their villages from the demon usually resulting in the death of the Jinchuriki and the release of the demon. Guy said, but Naruto seal is different. Kyuubi can't be released. Miko said, yes but that doesn't mean his life isn't hard because of the demon. After all he didn't even learn of the Kyuubi until the day he graduated when Mizuki tried to K him. Before that he never even knew why he was hated. The boatman said, well as much fun as it is to hear about all this, we're here. Everyone blinked and Miko looked at Amy and said, well, you never did convince me Naruto is the demon. I guess you're wrong. Amy frowned and Sakura said, wait Miko, how do you know so much about Naruto? Miko said, you could say I am Naruto consents, as she turned and walked in the shallow ankle-deep water 3 feet to the shore and began to walk away. Everyone watched her go and Sasuke turned to Sakura and said, still think Naruto is some monster, as he looked at Amy and said, or demon, as he turned and walked to the shore. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.